audience. It's your boy, Steve Mollura, licensed mental health counselor, and Lord Stephen the Bald King, Sorcerer King of Shadow Diver Counseling. Because, of course, I am. So I was doing a quick stream previously, and I was talking about Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and one of the videos about that. I didn't get a chance to really complain as much as I wanted to about professionalism, and that would be cool to do, but let me hold off on it for now. I actually want to go see my boy, Louis Zhao. I'm probably screwing up the actual pronunciation of that, but that's okay. And let me see if I can set this up. We're going to do a quick reaction screen, and I'll have his YouTube channel in the description. He's awesome. 67.2K subs. Let's get to 100K. He's actually really genius. But let's see. Let's start with Hikikomori, because God knows the entire locking yourself in your room and not doing anything for a while is not only really attractive, but it's starting to get more and more addictive, for lack of a better word. All right.
To visit her father, who lived alone in a small apartment. But when she opened the door, the pungent smell of feces, urine, and ammonia rushed into her nose. Oh, he must have died, she thought. And indeed, that was the last impression she had of her father, who passed away 2 weeks ago. The father was a hikikomori, which is a social phenomenon prominent in Japan, where people seek extremes.
By the way, if you get a chance, read the book Hikikomori. It is so good. It will definitely open your eyes to the chaos that is self-isolation.
Social isolation, often staying in their room alone for months, years, or even decades. Many hikikomori pass away alone, whose body would not be discovered until months later.
Yeah, so there's also a lot of YouTube videos about lonely death. The entirety of being like, oh, you're part of the country, you're part of the society, but you're not actually known that well. No one's checking up on you daily. So it's like, oh, no one knows if they died or not. They just like until it starts to smell enough to get the to get someone else involved and call the cops, I guess.
And neighbors begin to complain about the smell. There are approximately 30,000 cases of solitary deaths in Japan each year, and currently about 1.46 million individuals living as hikikomori. I want to focus on this topic today because the phenomenon illustrates aspects of human nature that are worth exploring. Before we get there, some context of history is helpful here. Hikikomori was first recognized as a social phenomenon in 1998 by psychiatrist Tamaki Saito. Saito observed many young people.
This guy is amazing. You should definitely read his books. See, I mean, I definitely want to I'm going to do some reviews of videos about this guy specifically because he's really, really cool. I know I'm gushing as a counselor about another counselor or psychologist, which is only something like this is how Warhammer fans sound when they're talking about their favorite hobby to someone who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, as it isn't that interested. So yes, this is me gushing about my Kami Oshi psychologist from across the planet.
People having trouble transitioning from adolescence to adulthood and withdrew from society as a result. Many researchers at the time also attributed this to the bust of the Japanese economic bubble that occurred earlier in the decade, which changed the employment dynamics in Japan. Japan had a culture expectation for young people to find a job at a company, stay loyal to that company, and work there for the rest of their lives. But that kind of lifelong job security, and frankly jobs in general, have become much harder to come by since the economic downturn. As a result, many Japanese youth could not find jobs, and along with that, their ability to fulfill this cultural expectation. This fostered deep guilt and shame, which ultimately led some of them to shut themselves from the world. Now, the failure to find employment is not the sole cause of hikikomori. Rather, it stems from a deeper issue, the inability to adapt or fit into societal expectations. But to understand why this failure to fit in could have such profound consequences, we need to first understand what fitting in means in Japanese culture. From the outside, Japan seems like the perfect society.
It is the perfect society, but yeah, the entire conform or die literally is definitely a problem.
Everything just works in Japan. You've got people bowing to you everywhere you go, convenience stores that have pretty much everything, and
Convenience stores are
toilets that
perfect.
would literally wash your ass after you're done. However,
I miss
perfection
the
is not
bidets.
usually a naturally occurring phenomenon. It's often achieved through tremendous human effort. In the case of Japan, its perfection comes with a heavy price. On some level, the perfection of the Japanese society might be analogous to the Procrustean bed, at least to some degree. The Procrustean bed is a story from Greek mythology that some of you may be familiar with. The story goes that a guy named Procrustes insists that he has the perfect bed that will fit anyone. But in reality, he would either stretch someone if they are too short or cut off their limbs if they are too tall so that they would perfectly fit into this bed. But the bed is obviously not optimized for the individual. Rather, the individual is transformed to fit the bed, a transformation that is often destructive to the individual. The Japanese society functions in a similar fashion to some degree. Like many other East Asian societies influenced by Confucianism, Japan values conformity over individuality. In many cases, it expects individuals to remove, hide, or otherwise change the part of themselves that are different so that they can fit in with the rest of the community. This results in a harmonious society, but at the expense of individuality. Now, as people try their best to fit into society by changing themselves, not everyone will succeed. There will be those who fail to fit in. There are many reasons for this.
People who
We've
rebel,
discussed one of them
that's another
already,
one.
which is work. Japanese society places high value on work. It has this I work, therefore I am mentality. Therefore, the inability to work is one of the most common reasons for failing to fit in, but it is not the only one. In essence, any difference that an individual cannot adapt or suppress to align with societal expectations can lead to a failure to fit in. Some examples could be being on the autism spectrum, suffering from depressions or other mental health issues, past trauma like bullying, not good at socializing, or simply looking or behaving differently. Now, this failure to fit in could have profound consequences in Japan. For instance, it can cause an identity crisis, since people often associate the role they conform to with who they are as people. If one does not have any role to fit into, one might lose the ability to define oneself as a person as well. This failure to fit in is also often associated with weakness of character, which causes tremendous shame and guilt. After all, one of the most important things you are expected to do in this culture is to fit in, and you fail to do it. For many, these consequences are enough to motivate them towards social withdrawal.
One of the things I really, really love maybe I don't love, but just interests me is the concept of rebellion in Asian culture in general, because it's like it's hard to do that. But there's this entire idea that like a delinquent is someone who still follows the rules 99% of the time. Um, yeah, it's just like it's only that 1% where it's like, oh, that actually causes trouble or causes some sort of misalignment. I know this is like hyperbolic and a stereotype, but I think there's a component there where it's like, yeah, if you're in a high trust society, high conformity society, it's like, yeah, it's a very, very strong contrast with America, that's for sure.
To go into hiding in order to escape from the shame and the guilt and the judgment and all of the other sources of pain that come from the failure to conform. And it just so happens,
And of course, I work with plenty of men and women who are like, they also do the social isolation because of the shame. It's not necessarily about conformity per se. It's more about success. I'm not doing enough. I haven't done enough. I haven't accomplished enough. I'm just not good enough as I am. I better lock myself away. And it's almost kind of the opposite. Instead of like conformity where it's like, okay, I can be, a cog in the machine. It's I haven't become as rich as Patrick Bet David, or I haven't gotten as ripped as Dwayne The Rock Johnson in his prime, and I haven't had 5 Lamborghinis and whatever 2.5 kids and a dog, and whatever the hell else it is on your standards. And it's like, oh, it's less about conformity and more about success. That's at least what it seems like to me.
happens that logistically, it's not very hard to socially withdraw in Japan. Japan is a paradise for introverts. It's full of infrastructure designed to eliminate social interactions. Almost everything can be ordered online or through automated vending machines. There are even restaurants catered for people to eat alone. And a lot of the social interactions that do.
This is one of the things that I'm like genuinely scared about as things become more and more automated and more convenient to just, order things, Instacart, whatever. It's like the social skills are going to decrease, and I think it's going to be a real problem for the next generation. But one thing at a time.
Exist between strangers are highly ritualized, therefore predictable. They are often confined in a handful of polite phrases and gestures, making them easy to navigate. So if you want to socially withdraw while still live in a human society, Japan might be one of the easiest places to pull that off. In other words, there are both push and pull factors at play here for social withdrawal. There's the push factor of the pain one experiences for the inability to fit in. Then there's the pull factor of the ease and comfort and convenience of becoming a shut-in. Now, hikikomori is not exclusive to Japan. It can occur anywhere in the world, but the unique combination of
I know a few people who do that.
These push and pull factors in Japan is why it is particularly prevalent there. So in 2003, the Japanese government officially recognized hikikomori as a social and mental health issue and included it as part of its mandate. The government also conducted the first national survey on hikikomori to better understand the problem and began strategizing solutions. We've come a long way since then, and various interventions have been attempted with varying degrees of effectiveness. For instance, there are psychiatric and counseling programs specifically for hikikomori. There are also support centers offering job training and skill development, as well as group therapies that provide a safe space to practice social interactions. The issue, though, is that there is cultural stigma around.
Who would actually be perfect for this? Robin from Nomad Push, and maybe a bunch of his friends, where it's like, okay, you've been homeless for the last few years, but you've been accomplishing so much, and you have this YouTube channel, and you just finished an entire ride your moped across Japan, which is like, if it's a conformist to society, this is something where it's like, okay, you can function, you can live, but you're also challenging yourself to do something crazy and adventurous. And it's like, I think one of the biggest problems with any mental health intervention is, are you getting it from the same people who you wouldn't want to live their lifestyle anyway? Now, you could say, well, Steve, yeah, you don't actually, your doctor or your nurse's lifestyle shouldn't have any actual effect on the treatment they give you. But when it comes to counseling or coaching or any sort of like life advice, it's like, okay, who are we getting it from? Consider the source. Consider the source. And it's like, it's hard not to kill the messenger, but sometimes we're supposed to kill them because it's like, maybe this person is actually providing poison to my soul. It's good for them. It's good for other people. But it's like, nah, we need to. It can't just be random psychologists who played the game from preschool to grad school to doctorate to fellowship to, being in an academic program and running it that way. It can't just be that. It can't just, like, if you actually want to connect with people, you need to have some rebels in there, or at least some extroverts.
Seeking this kind of help in Japan, so the usage rate of these services is not as high as one would.
That's another thing. I do, I treat people internationally, and the stigma in the Asian side of the world is intense. That's for sure.
Hope. Now, although it's great to see that help is available from the outside, what I find more inspiring is the help that comes from within the hikikomori community, if I can call it a community. For example, there's an ex-hikikomori who has found a way to begin his recovery through traveling. He has since created a YouTube channel and wrote a book to share his experiences. There's also a mother of a hikikomori who used to hate her son for being an unproductive member of society. She has since come to accept her son for who he is and now has a podcast in which she shares advice with other parents of hikikomori. There's a guy who created a video game based on his experience as a hikikomori. And there's even a group of recovering hikikomori who came together to create a magazine called Hikiposu that publishes content about hikikomori. In essence, these are people who have gone through the pain of hikikomori in one way or another and either have come out of the other side or are in the process.
Listen, guys, I had to do years of therapy in order to be able to like function, and I had to do as an adult. And I had to join the army and join 2 universities and spend a lot of money just to learn how to talk to people. Like, now you can't get me to shut the hell up, but it's like, need to remember how distressing not only social interaction is, but just like normie life is for certain people. It's not just, hey, I can't conform or I can't succeed. It's also the struggle of daily life is, I just want to validate the struggle of daily life. Like, as an existentialist, it's like, okay, the fact that you have to live and function and do basic biological things and actually have some meaning to your existence and create it yourself in and of itself can be overwhelming.
Of coming out of the other side. And now they've taken the suffering they've endured and transmuted it into art. In this way, they share their experiences, the challenges they've overcome, the failures and lessons they've learned along the way, so that others who are going through similar problems have something to learn from. Now, these efforts have raised social awareness about hikikomori, leading to more public dialogue on the issue. A common theme in these discussions is the need for Japanese society to become less rigid and more accepting of individual differences so that less people would be driven to social withdrawal. Now, I have no...
This is an interesting question because like I'm too American for this, where it's too much rebel without a cause. It's like, screw society, I'm just going to go do my own thing. But that's in a lot of ways really encouraged, at least in a lot of subcultures, or at least like under the radar. So I know it's much harder on the Asian side of the planet to actually be able to do that. But yeah, that's all.
Objection to societal change. Of course, it's undeniably positive when societies evolve for the better. But personally, I'm more interested in conversations about individual changes and improvements rather than societal transformations, because the former is more within one's control. If I were a hikikomori, I can't directly influence how tolerant my society is. But if there are things I can change about myself now, that's something I'd be more interested in exploring. So one of the more valuable accomplishments I see from these cultural dialogues is not so much in making societies more accepting of hikikomori, but in encouraging hikikomori to be more accepting of themselves. After all, in a free country, anyone should have the freedom to not accept something. And if I want to be accepted by others, I should at the very least accept myself first. By raising awareness, the hikikomori community...
I know it's way easier said than done. Just accept yourself, bro. Just be confident, bro. It's like, yeah, you don't know how much I hate myself. You don't know how much I've been told that I'm unlovable and unworthy until I get X, Y, and Z, until I do something or become something. And it's like, yeah, most of us I will say, as much as I struggle sometimes with social isolation and locking myself in my room, I'm not so extreme, but yeah, there's definitely been a lot of healing in my life where it's been deprogramming the bullshit messaging. And self-acceptance it takes a while. It takes a lot of trauma work for some people.
Helps many others facing the same condition realize that they are not alone. This encourages self-acceptance instead of self-avoidance. It shows hikikomori a model of what can be possible if they begin to face their problems instead of running away from it, and hopefully inspires them to start making changes in their lives. And overall, what I've always found so inspiring about the story of humanity is not how it demands its environment to be more accommodating, but rather how it uses intelligence and cooperation to adapt to and overcome the challenges from its environment. Our ancestors didn't ask the tiger to run slower or have less teeth. Instead, they created shelter and weapons to defend themselves. And through generations of iteration, created fascinating cultures that contain wisdom about how to survive and thrive within harsh and unaccommodating environments. The hikikomori.
The problem is, of course, that our environments are too nice. The things that actually brought us together as people or gave us purpose is no longer available. Go back to Nishi, go back to anyone, go back to Lud, whoever, where it's like, okay, yeah, we are too safe with our stupid air conditioning and our cell phones. And yeah, we can actually just stay in our rooms all day, DoorDash our food, wait to die. It's a problem, man. If anything, though, I think it's going to be Teal Swan talks about this a lot, the intentional community. Hey, it's not just, being in a farm in Nebraska with a bunch of hippies. It can be as simple as, okay, we are highly urbanized. Let's make sure that we're meeting up every week for board game night or every 2 weeks. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's the yoga group. Maybe it's whatever. But you have to have some actual human contact. You actually have to have at least a conversation once. At least once a day, or else you're going to lose your freaking mind.
Phenomenon then might represent a facet of this broader story of humanity adapting to its environments. You see, fitting in doesn't have to be a destructive process. It's destructive in the worst of cases, where we bury the part of us that are unique in order to be the same as everyone else. But in the best of cases, a sufficiently wise individual could find a way to integrate their uniqueness with their environment such that they can still express who they are while not disrupting the harmony of their community, and perhaps even bring value to society or inspire positive changes through their uniqueness.
I think I love that. Hey, you can integrate community and individualism in a way that it's not mutually exclusive, that it actually complements each other. It's just so hard when you've been told that who you are as a person is unacceptable.
Now, that is a high-level maneuver that not everyone can pull off, or at least not right away, but that doesn't mean that one should stop trying. As long as one doesn't give up, hikikomori might represent only a temporary setback on one's journey of healthy integration. Perhaps one tried to fit in the past and fails, and the pain of failures causes one to withdraw for a period of time. But that is until one finds the courage and try again. Now, there's no guarantee of success in this endeavor, but success remains possible because we've seen it. We've seen examples of recovering hikikomori beginning to find their ways to healthy integration. And many of them have found wisdom through the challenges they face that they otherwise would not have discovered have they not gone through the painful setbacks. So the journey, though difficult, is worth taking, in my opinion, and I wish these people best of luck in their endeavors. Now, hikikomori is a very big topic. There are things I have to leave out for the sake of time, but I think some of them are nonetheless informative or could otherwise be interesting to some of you who would like to learn more about this topic. I'll include a few links and some information about them in the video description. For instance, I'll include some information about a movie called Perfect Days, which I think represents one of the best examples of healthy integration with society for someone who is not a hikikomori, but is nonetheless introverted and enjoy one's own company. So check out some of these things in the description if you're interested.
Thank you, Lois. Yeah, the entire that's the hell. For whenever it was auto playing. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the other thing, like this thing after COVID. Like I have a bunch of friends who are very, very introverted, and it's fine. But it's like during COVID, one of the weirdest things that I kept hearing from certain people was like almost this glee that the extroverts have to like isolate themselves for a while. And it's like, oh, Well, you're introverted, and I know you don't necessarily want to lose your energy in socialization too much, but it was like that was a little much. It's like, don't don't do use Schadenfreude when just because someone's different. But yeah, the entire you can actually be introverted and connected at the same time. That's good too. Let's see. I would definitely let's try this Johatsu thing. Let me see if I can actually work with this. Come on. Share screen. Actually, you know what? I actually want to check out this thing because streaming, right? Let's learn us some things about streaming.
City at night, you might come across something like this. Rows of people, mostly young and attractive, sitting or standing on the streets in front of rows of phones and ring lights, singing and talking and sometimes dancing. They look like streamers, but they also look homeless. Indeed, they do gather around places where homeless people tend to be. On the sidewalks, inside tunnels, on bridges or under bridges. There was even a bridge that became so famous for this type of gathering that people started going there just to watch the spectacle.
And not a single porta potty. Where are these people going? It's a problem.
There was so much foot traffic under the bridge that at one point it started to look like a local festival or block party. You can see people dressed up impeccably while dancing in the mud, or carrying a heavy jar of water while dancing in the mud, or downright rolling in the mud, or basically doing whatever it takes to get attention from viewers online. Now, if you're seeing this for
The other thing is like, I don't know much about the algorithm for a lot of these live streaming things. I should, but from what I understand, if you're using cell phones specifically with geolocation, the more people or more cell phones in a given area, the more the algorithm thinks that something interesting is there or blowing up. So these people kind of run in packs in order to get more views. At least I think that is. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about this. I don't know. It's all techno sorcery to me.
first time, you probably have a few commonly asked questions. What are they doing? Where are they doing that? Are they streaming? Are they homeless? Where are they streaming outside? Why can't they stream from home? Why are they all together like that? Why can't they just stream by themselves? Why do they seem so desperate? What's pushing them to go this far? Why is this happening? Why are we here?
Who are these people?
What's the meaning of life? The universe? Okay,
Is
I
Xi
got you.
Jinping
In this video,
my best
I will talk
friend?
about this phenomenon of homeless streaming in China. I'll talk about what it is and what caused it, and in so doing paint a cautionary tale of what can happen when the attention economy goes too far. Now, like these streamers, I too am a content creator, so I feel a personal connection to their struggle. You might not be a streamer or a content creator, and that's okay, because the lessons here are applicable across culture and geography, and can be useful regardless of your particular domains of human endeavor. So join me as we dive in to the rise of these homeless streamers. Now, first of all, yes, they are indeed streamers, but no, they're not homeless, or at least not
really.
usually. So why are they out there on the street in the middle of the night? Well, they come out at night because nighttime just happens to be a peak time for streaming traffic in China. Most people would have finished work at that point and are now online seeking entertainment. So nighttime naturally has the most streamed viewers, and streamers in turn get online at night to capitalize.
The other thing is like, if you speak Chinese, it's actually easier to get the audience, like just time zone wise. So I don't remember how many time zones China has, but yeah, it's like, okay, you can. The same thing with with America. Okay, if you're streaming on the East Coast or Pacific time or Hawaiian time, as long as you're in English, you can get someone most hours. You can be the DGen streamer at 2 a.m. and probably get someone in Pacific Coast time at 10 p.m. It's like, oh, well, it's an hour and a half before I get to go to bed, so let me just wind down with the stream. So in a lot of ways, you can figure that out. Just see how the sunrise works.
On that. Many streamers also have day jobs and would only have time to stream at night. In terms of why they do it on the street though, it's mostly because it makes for engaging content. You're probably seeing TikTok dancers do this, filming their content in public, sometimes to the annoyance of other people. TikTokers can and do film their content in private spaces, but There's something interesting about the real-world chaos, the cars and the cityscape and the social pressure of other people watching that can make the content more engaging to watch. And these Chinese streamers stream in public to capture some of that same engagement on their stream. Additionally, for some streamers, this is also an attempt to appeal to pity. The idea is that if viewers see them sitting out in the cold at 1 in the morning, they might feel empathy towards the streamers and as a result become nicer to them and donate to their stream more often. Now, I acknowledge that this looks kind of insane. In fact, when I first started researching this topic, I had to do a sanity check and contact a few people in China to make sure that they've actually seen this with their own eyes and this is not just AI-generated footage. And unfortunately, it is real. In fact, you can watch the stream from these streamers right now. You need to use a Chinese streaming platform, and here's me trying to do this a few weeks ago. I just searched for street streaming and found one after just a couple of scrolls. What was shocking to me was that I was watching this at 1:40 in the afternoon Pacific time, which would have been about 4, almost 5 o'clock in the morning in China. So this poor girl was on the street at basically 5 in the morning while it was kind of raining and streaming for the 46 people who were watching the stream. So the question is, why are they going this far? And sure, streaming outside might make for slightly better content, but compared to the comfort of streaming from home, what's pushing these streamers to go out in the cold in the middle of the night? Now, first of all, there is a macroeconomic reason for this. After the COVID lockdown, China's economy has not rebounded as strongly as one would have hoped. The rate of unemployment is still relatively high, and even those with jobs might not necessarily be able to afford the cost of living in major cities.
Why does everything suck? Why hasn't it gotten back? What happened? Why isn't it just returned? Or at the very least gotten into even better? Like, I know, it's so infuriating. Whatever.
Streaming, on the other hand, has a low barrier to entry. Basically, anyone with a phone and an internet connection can do it. So naturally, streaming becomes something many Chinese people do to supplement their income. According to CCTV, there were more than...
Just like door dashing. Sometimes just like the adult entertainment industry, depending on the location and people.
And 15 million professional streamers in China by the end of 2023. That means roughly 1 in every 100 people in China were streamers. In other words, the streaming industry has become incredibly competitive. It's therefore a necessity for streamers to go the extra mile to stand.
Yeah, exactly. Who are you going to watch? Are you going to watch some hot Chinese girl playing canasta under a bridge? Or are you going to see Shadow Diver Counseling's stream? I think you know the answer.
Out in a sea of people making similar content if they want to make money. Making the effort to come out to the street is just one such example. But there are other factors that exaggerates this sense of desperation in streamers and push them to work harder. One of these factors is baked directly into the mechanics of Chinese streaming platforms, and it has to do with how Chinese streamers get paid. Now, many streaming platforms in the West, like Twitch and YouTube, have ad revenue sharing programs. Once streamers are qualified and accepted into the program, even if their viewers don't pay them, the streamers can still get paid from ad revenue.
Yeah, thanks a lot, YouTube and Twitch, for screwing your algorithms recently. That hasn't caused mental health issues all across your platform. You should have seen, well, I'm not even going to go into the trauma dumping on Twitter, but I follow a lot of streamers. I'm like, wow, this is a problem.
Revenue. Chinese streaming platforms, on the other hand, don't have ad revenue sharing, or at least not yet at this time. So streamers' income has to come from the pocket of the viewers. That usually happens in one of two ways. First is straight up viewer donation. Viewers can tip the streamers directly through these virtual gifts. This is one of the most common ways for street streamers to monetize. The second way is live commerce, and this is basically infomercial but on streams. Streamers would talk about the product, and there will be a button at the bottom of the screen for viewers.
Okay, so this actually makes a lot more sense now, because I'm like, okay, I've gone through TikTok so much and I've gone through the live streams and like, it looks so much like QVC, but in a bad way. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, I guess hawking some products, I guess, isn't bad. It's just like, I don't know, just a little weird. Like where it's like, okay, I don't want any of this crap.
Viewers to buy. When that happens, the streamer receives a commission from the sales. Now, regardless of how it happens, the fact remains that streamers don't get paid unless viewers take money out of their own pocket and give it to them in one way or another. This creates an
One day when I'm cool and I have sponsorship deals, what am I gonna actually be sponsored by? Maybe Ruger, Mantis Sleep. I'll do anything non-chemical to get people to sleep, an extra 5 minutes earlier, or even 5% better. Hell yeah. And so Ruger, Mantis Sleep, Helix. I actually own a Helix mattress, and it's actually really good. And I don't know what else. Plano foot lockers. I don't know. I don't know who I would be sponsored by. Would it really have to be something I actually care about? Because I can't really just talk, freaking fact or anything. It's gonna probably have to be a local restaurant. If you're in the specific area I'm in, go to this place.
incentive, if ever so subtly, for streamers to be a bit more desperate. They seem more needy because they do need something from their viewers. Because of this, there were memes circulating on Chinese social media that compares these street streamers to beggars. Here's one such meme, and the top here says old school beggars, and the bottom says new age beggars. Now I can see some resemblance, but to be fair, streamers do provide some form of entertainment. They do sing and dance and so on, so a better comparison might be to street performers rather than beggars.
I don't like most buskers though. Like there are some people who actually do deserve it, and it's like okay. Other people, I'm like okay. I mean, I'm gonna be a real jackass about this. Like there are so many people who are street performers who I don't think provide value to the passerby. Now, some of them, because it's such a subjective experience. Yeah, okay, if the homeless guy with a guitar starts playing the acoustic version of One Hand Killing by 12 Foot Ninja, then yeah, then I definitely at least give him some cash, but so much is just worthless.
Another thing that sets streamers apart from beggars, and that's the fact that many street streamers are often parts of a business or company that specializes in social media content creation. These companies are officially known as MCN, or multi-channel network, in the industry. They're basically streaming agencies or influencer agencies. They provide streamers with training, equipment, help them broker sponsor relationship, and with other logistical tasks in exchange for a cut of the streamer's revenue. Now, you might wonder why any influencer would want to give up a portion of their revenue to join an agency. You've got a smartphone and a data plan, so just point the camera at yourself and hit record, right? How hard could it be? Well, there are actually a lot of things content creators need to do that has little to do with creating the content itself. For instance, I just spent a week filing my taxes. Even though my channel was monetized for less than 2 months last year and made about $200, I still had to include that business activities on my tax filing, because there's apparently a difference between cash-based accounting and accrual-based accounting. And if you don't know what any of that means, I didn't either. So that's how I spent a week. Thank you for asking. Now, no offense to the accountants out there. This is fascinating stuff, but as a content creator, it's probably more efficient and relevant for me to spend a week researching for this video topic instead of learning how to depreciate a capital asset at fair market value. The idea of a company taking care of these kind of things for me, it sounds like a great value proposition in theory. But in practice, joining an agency, especially in China, usually means giving up on some degree of creative and career freedom. And depending on how ethical the agency you're working with is, you could be giving up on a lot of freedom to the point that you are trapped contractually. As part of joining
Could be worse. Could be that you're working for Shoujo.
an agency in China, streamers might face restrictions on what kind of content they can stream, where and when they have to stream, and quotas like how much revenue they must generate per week. And keep in mind that Chinese streamers don't make revenue until viewers give it to them. Failing to meet these quotas could result in fines. And if streamers try to leave the agency before their contract's completion, they could get sued. So it's easy to see how these restrictions can intensify desperation and push streamers to hustle ever more frantically to avoid breaching contract terms. For example, you might have seen clips like this circulating on the internet. People have called them influencer factories, and these would have been operated by influencer agencies. Not all of them look this bad, though. There are some with better conditions, like this one based in Indonesia. But the business idea is the same. It's to streamline the content creation process, from training to filming to distribution, so that content can be mass manufactured like commodities in factories. And many of these street streaming gatherings are just the other side of the same coin. Now, some street streaming gatherings are formed organically from independent streamers, but we know that many are organized by agencies, because there are hints in the footage that reveal this. For example, here the streamers are all using the same ring lights and nearly identical setups. You can also sometimes see tech support staff assisting the streamers. There's even a continuous red carpet that are laid out on the ground sometimes, indicating that the team had come and set this up beforehand for their streamers as part of an organized business operation. Regardless of how these gatherings form, there is something off-putting about them. They look almost dystopian, like something out of a Black Mirror episode. One of the reasons it looks so jarring is because it juxtaposes a series of polar opposites that really shouldn't belong together. For instance, it juxtaposes the appearance of wealth and fame to poverty and obscurity. These streamers are all dressed in glamorous clothing, with beautiful makeups, in front of spotlights and cameras as if they are celebrities. Yet in reality, they are out on the street, like homeless beggars. It also juxtaposes human connections and loneliness. On one side, viewers from all around the country are connecting intimately with their favorite streamers, a modern miracle facilitated by the internet. On the other side, everyone is alone. Most viewers are probably in a room by themselves staring at a screen, while the streamers sit just inches apart from each other, yet never interact. Everyone is locked in the prison.
This is one of the weirdest things where it's like, okay, if you are in a content farm, like, you can actually do collaborations. I don't know why that crap doesn't happen more. Or I guess I want to say that differently. There are so many people in so many ways and so many streamers who do collaborations because they know that combining our fan bases or just having fun together makes for a better stream. Yeah, the play-by-play between, I don't know, Fillion and Smuggalana, or between Kersha and Pipkin Pippa. It's like, oh, cool. Look at these two people play off each other. But I guess if you're in the TikTok, it's, I don't know. I think that there's an inauthenticity here and a lack of connection or lack of collaboration that's makes the content just, it's not even a cheeseburger. It's just dross. It's just worthless. No, but let me keep
of their digital worlds, appearing to connect, yet never really do. It juxtaposes collectivism and individualism as well. China has a collectivist culture, after all.
Yeah, let's actually pause here. I think we're getting the point here. So, if you go to China, don't join a content streaming farm. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it seems like there's this concept in the military. We're always prepared for the last war. And that means that we take a look at what happened previously and we're like, okay, this is what I experienced, or this is how I learned how to survive. Let's just keep doing that. And it's hard to actually plan for the future, especially if you are, invested in previous technology. So World War II and Vietnam were very, very different. Yeah, maybe there were some things that were similar, especially, the Marines island hopping in, Asia. You could definitely have some parallels there, but, it's different world, different weapons, different kind of structure, whole new, different kind of thing. It's like, same thing with business, same thing with everything else. So we have these like big companies probably preying on the desperate who are doing this streaming stuff. And hey, me too. But a lot of this is just marketing for me, for my business. We got these big companies doing the streaming stuff, but it's like, you might have already missed the boat. Maybe authenticity, maybe human connection, even digital human connection is the next real big thing. You're not going to do that, hawking cherries and QVC and Temu bullshit and try to get a commission. Yeah, you can get sponsored or whatever. That's fine. But if you're doing the QVC job, I don't think it's actually going to be good for you in the long run. All right. Enough of that. Well, we're 45 minutes in. Let's see if there's anything else that's going on. Why isn't my website working? The hell is going on with my browser? Let's see. Let's go here. Nope. Yeah, looks like we're having some tech difficulties. Oh well, that's okay. Let's see. All right, scuffed counselor. Well, I think 2 videos or 1.5 videos is probably good for right now. Let's actually close out. This has been good times. We got 46 minutes in, and I think we're good for today. All right, Shadow Divers, good hanging out with y'all, all one of you. Much love from the Shadowlands, and be nice to yourself.